Hi, and welcome to your session on the God of Small Things. So, in the last video, we have already discussed chapter 3 and 4. We begin with chapter 5, God's Own Country. When chapter 5 begins, we are back in the present where Rahel has returned to Aymanam. And she says that she has returned to the river, but it is not the same anymore. She describes it as a ghastly skull smile, almost like a skeleton of the previous glory of the river. And two things have happened that makes her feel this. She says one thing is that the river has shrunk, it has become smaller, and the second thing is that she has grown. She was a young child then, now she's a grown woman. And then she talks about how the environment has changed, okay, because there has been a saltwater barrage, a dam sort of structure that has been built in return for votes. Okay, so it was a political agenda, and for that this barrage was built, and that has resulted in this river becoming smaller. All right. And all this has happened, there she says that there were two harvests instead of one, and more rice, but all of this has happened at the price of a river. And despite the fact that it was June and raining, okay, it was a rainy climate. We know that is the climate in June is very unpredictable here. It was raining and all the rivers are always full, but still, Meenachal River at that point was almost like a drain, ഒരു ഇച്ചിരി വലിയതായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഓട പോലെ അത്രമേ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നുള്ളൂ എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. Okay. And once upon a time, this river was the one which used to evoke fear. Everyone was afraid of this river, and it had the power to change lives. It had the power to evoke fear in people. But now it's almost like looking at an old person whose teeth have come out because of old age. Its spirit is gone. All right. And it's just a slow sludging river of green, and it's not nothing like its former glory. And on the other side of river also, she's the beginning of the chapter, she's describing how things have changed from the past. All right. On the other side of the river also, how people are defecating. They are using the river in a very bad manner. They are sucking mud out of the exposed river. Lots of things are happening. And further inland, there has a 5-star hotel has started. And that is why the history house, remember we talked about the history house. She has described it before in the previous chapters of how the children were always fascinated by this history house that belonged to Karisaip. And now it has become a resort sort of a structure, and it could no longer be approached from the river because it has been closed off by the people who own the resort. The hotel guests are directly taken from Cochin in a boat, and they reach there. Okay, so there is no way to reach it through Aymanam. And the view from the hotel was very, very beautiful, but there were no swimming boards that were kept up there, probably because if the people end up swimming in that river that is so dirty, they'll get some sort of diseases. And there was but another swimming pool inside the hotel which was for swimming, and they called it God's Own Country. So this is where the title is coming from, God's Own Country. We know this oft repeated slogan of Kerala tourism that is there. And it's almost like she's showing us the two sides of God's Own Country, where remember earlier this year when Trump was visiting Gujarat, Modi had built a wall, and everyone was commenting on about how on one side of the wall everything was beautiful, while on the other side it was actually built to hide the slums and the dirtiness and the reality of India. Here also it's almost the same. The God's Own Country slogan is put there, but it is all beautiful in the resort, while on the other side the river is being reduced. The river is becoming a very, very dirty place from what it was earlier, and the resort has undoubtedly is responsible for that kind of environmental impact on the river. And Karisaip's house has been renovated and painted, and it has become the centerpiece of an elaborate complex, the resort or hotel that is there. All right. And it is an old colonial bungalow, it's built by the Britishers, so it already has some sort of a glory there. And But now it has, once it has been transformed into a resort, there's the word heritage and his everything is being used. There's a museum. The comrade EMS Namboodiripad, his items, the traditional Kerala umbrella, traditional bridal jewelry box, okay, all of those things are kept in the storeroom, in the whatever was in the storeroom before is now being displayed as if it's a museum. And all these foreigners who come, they are very very excited when they see all this, right? So it was there that history and literature was coming together, and she is describing this history house as the heart of darkness. I'm sure you are familiar with the Heart of Darkness, written by Joseph Conrad, right? So here she's describing this image of this resort that has come up with the Heart of Darkness. What is the Heart of Darkness? Please go and look it up and see what it means. Okay, the Heart of Darkness means of how people are returning to their at the end, towards the end of the novel Heart of Darkness, the character Kurtz, okay, he realizes his folly, his mistakes. So sort of that is why this is coming up now. I want you to go and read up about the Heart of Darkness so that you can understand this clearly. And for regional flavor, in the hotel there would be Kathakali performances. And but Kathakali, as you know, is a very very complex art, and it is hours and hours long. But because these foreigners have very very small attention spans, it has been cut down to 20 minutes, because small attention spans, right? So ancient stories that are there, that are usually celebrated in Kathakali, were collapsed and amputated, okay? 6-hour classics are brought down to 20 minutes cameos, and they are staged by the swimming pool. And unlike the traditional way, in Kathakali, of how it's usually shown to performed, now they are hotel guests, even though they are the audience, they will eat and sing and they'll do what they are doing, and Kathakali will just be some sort of a background that is happening there. People are not really interested in that, right? And the back veranda of the history house, okay, where something has happened. Now this something is the main climax of this particular novel, okay? So something had happened in this back veranda of the history house, but now it has been closed, she says. And it is a open kitchen where they create barbecue and all of that is happening. But there outside, outside in the outside balcony, there is one thing that is remaining. Even though the entire picture of Imanam has changed, there is one thing that is laying buried in the ground under the grass, under 23 years of June rain. It has been 23 years since that object is lying there in that place. And that is a small forgotten thing. Ellarum marnu poya oru sadhanamana. Nothing that the world would miss. It is not a very, very important thing. 10 to 2, it said. Okay, that means there was 10 minutes to 2 o'clock was the time on that. It was a small watch, okay, a child's plastic wrist watch with time painted on it. അതായത് സമയം ആ സമയമായിരുന്നു എന്നല്ല, കുട്ടികളുടെ wrist watch അറിയാലോ, the time is fixed there, it is painted on, it is not moving needles. So that is the watch that is lying there since the past 23 years. All right. And that is what is something. Even though everyone else has forgotten everything else, this remnant of the past is still lying there in the ground. And while she was returning back home, okay, Rahel was walking by when she was viewing all this, and she was looking at all the things that were around her, and how the people in that place are looking at her. And that is when their neighbor, right, the KNM Pillai, remember him from the previous chapters? Yes, he met Rahel, and obviously very very Indian thing to do. He's describing how his son Lenin is in Delhi, and automatically he brings up some pictures of Lenin and his family, and he's showing it to Rahel. And Rahel is very very disinterested, okay? And then he asks Rahel, what about your family, you're married? She says yes, but then she said that she is divorced, okay? And that that is a very very taboo word. And he says ayo, oh, kashtam, okay, he keeps saying that. And that is when someone else is passing by, and KNM Pillai is introducing Rahel by saying that she is Punyan Kunya's son, Ben and John Eep, his granddaughter she is, okay. And when the other person, he does not know them very well, but he remembers some sort of scandal story that he heard very long ago, but he does not remember, okay. And when he hears that she is in America, it is a very, very honorable thing to be, right? So he's very happy to hear that she is in America. Then again, yes, he comes and tells, Rahel talks about her husband, and she says that she does not have any children, and he is asking, oh, still planning or expecting, okay. One is must, boy, girl, anyone, Pillai says, and that is when she says that we are divorced. Divorced? His voice rose to a high register, okay, that is a question mark, and he felt very, very sad, okay. And he thought that, that this generation of this family was probably paying for its ancestors' sins, and there is some sin that has happened from the ancestors, and that is why one was mad. Who is the mad one? Esther. The other divorced, probably barren, probably she's not going to have children also. Perhaps this was the real revolution, okay. This was the revolution, because they always were bourgeois, right, Rahel and her family. So this was the real revolution. The Christian bourgeois had begun to self-destruct. So then he asks about Esther. Even though he knows about Esther already, he still wants to know. And then news how is he? And Rahel says that he's fine. So he, ayo, pao, poor fellow, he says, okay, because he feels that he is mad. And then he again talks about his son Lenin, and that is when Rahel is again transported back to her childhood of what happened, some incident that happened, because of which she remembers Lenin very, very correctly, okay. And before that, this Lenin was a very shy boy, so he was always hiding behind his mother's sari, and for Rahel and Esther, he was part of his mother's sari's pleat, okay. Now that this incident is the thing that happened, that because of which he became a real person to Rahel and Esther. And the incident was that they were visiting the clinic of Dr. Varghese, okay. And look at the way Dr. Varghese is described. Dr. Varghese, Kottayam's leading pediatrician and feeler up of mothers. So while he is a very, very famous pediatrician, he is also the person who always touches the mothers who come with these children inappropriately. All right. And Rahel was there with Ammu and Asta, because Rahel had put up a glass bead up her nose. Okay, or a glass bead, or a round bead. She had put it inside her nose. And Lenin also had the same complaint, foreign objects lodged up their noses. He had somehow put up yes, a green gram, pachapayar. Okay, he had put it up, and she was very, even as a young child, she realized, because she was from a bourgeois family, she had put up a glass bead, while Lenin, who is the son of a comrade, has put up a green gram. And while they were waiting, somehow, Rahel's glass bead, when she keeps sneezing, it comes out, but Lenin's doesn't, and he goes and sees his mother. So that is something that is described, okay. And even that episode that is described is very, very Indian, and very, very from a child's perspective. So it's very interesting if you read that particular part. All right. All right, that is what he sees. All right. And that is where Comrade Pillai shows her another picture, okay. And this is another picture where he says that Orkunundo, he says it was an old black and white picture, one that Charco had took with his camera. All right. And what was there was that there were 4 children in that picture: Lenin, Esther, Sophie Mol, and herself, standing in the front veranda of IMNM house. So it was a picture taken when they were all children. Behind them, baby Kochama's Christmas decoration could be seen. And